It's KC 101. Time for another edition of Saturday with Seniors. A big thank you to our sponsor, FCCB, the local branches in Wellsboro, Mansfield, and Blossburg, sponsoring this edition and each edition of Saturday with Seniors. And our guest today, looking so forward to this, Marge Weatherbee, originally, I think, from Covington, right?
Yes.
And living in Wellsboro now. Well, good morning, Marge.
Good morning, Kevin.
Well, thank you so much for coming down.
You're welcome.
I have known you since when I first went on the air in 1995.
Yes, that's right.
ETC, or Etc. Antiques, as some people called it.
That's right.
In Wellsboro was your business, but you had quite a bit of a life before that. So I want to hear about your earlier days growing up, where you went to school, your first car, your first job, what your parents did, and all that stuff. So tell me about some of your early memories. Where do your memories start?
I remember back when I was probably 4 or 5 years old. We lived on a farm outside of Covington up on East Hill. I loved it. I loved the animals. I played with the pigs. In fact, I rode on the pigs.
Now, I know that neighborhood pretty well. When you say off of East Hill, how far, like Canoe Camp Creek, where the intersection is?
No, we went to Covington and turned at the Four Corners.
Uh-huh.
From Mansfield, you would go to the left.
Yep.
And you can go by Walmart and up that dirt road, and you come on the road. But we always went by the way of Covington.
Uh-huh.
And up East Hill, about 2 miles, and then you took a branch road that went to the right.
Yeah, Barber Road, I think that is.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
And didn't have a name then.
It was just that dirt road to the right.
It was just that dirt road to the right.
So what was there when you were a kid, that area where Canoe Camp Creek and East Hill and Barber Road, where that all meet? You had told me some stories about how there was was there a sawmill, or that was before your time?
My grandmothers and my grandparents, I should say, all lived right near in the neighborhood.
In that Frost Settlement area?
Yep, and went to their house a lot.
Were there other buildings around when you were a kid in that area?
Not really. It was just farms.
Pretty much what we see today is what you saw then?
There's some newer homes, of course.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's pretty much the same as it was.
And where did you go to elementary school? Where?
At Covington.
Right in town?
Yep, right in town. And the Burke Building.
Yep.
On Main Street.
So you didn't go to a one-room schoolhouse. You're one of the
few. There were several rooms.
Yeah. Did your parents go to a one-room schoolhouse?
Yes. My dad went in Covington, and my mother went on up past going towards Mainsburg. There was a little school. It's gone now, but that was where she went.
What was Covington like when you were a little kid, downtown Covington?
The same as it is now.
The same as it is now. You didn't get lost now with the same road map.
Yep.
There was more businesses then, right? There was a car garage, I think, and there was a candy factory, and Matthews Motor Company wasn't there. The glass company was there, but do you remember some of the businesses and things that were there?
I remember mostly Ballard's, which was a machine factory.
I'd never heard of Ballard's.
No. When you get into the Four Corners, if you went to the right, over the bridge, over the river.
South to the right, over the river, I got you.
And it would have been on the left-hand side. There was a factory there. Okay. And that was pretty much it. There was...
Marvin's Market was around there, too?
Oh, they were there. There was another store called Zimmer and Beatty's. That was across the street. And then there was Brownie Richards. That was on up the street towards Route 15.
And the original Colonial Inn, before it had the fire, was there then, too.
Yep.
There was a diner in Covington,
Yep, there was a diner. That was on the other side of Route 15.
So when you say the same, it's the same except totally different.
It stays the same, but it's different. Yeah, because Colonial Inn is still there, but it's a newer building.
Yes, that moved over after the fire. And Putnam Park, do you have any memories of what the earliest days of Putnam Park?
Roller skating.
Okay.
There was a roller skating rink. There was a bar. Yep. That was when kids could go into a bar.
Yeah.
And the roller skating rink was hooked right to the Putnam Park.
Okay, very interesting. So tell me about some of your early memories. What you used to do as a kid? What were some of the fun things?
Played in the creek.
Yeah.
Caught fish, took them in the house, and my mother made me put them back.
Did she? Did you have brothers and sisters?
Had a sister, older, 2 years older.
Uh-huh.
And it was just the two of us. And when you live out in the country, you're forced to play with your sibling.
We're talking in the country in the 1940s, right? Because you're, first of all,
I
you
was
just
born
turned 85. Happy birthday.
Yep, thank you.
We didn't mention at the beginning. So how often did you get into Mansfield or Covington?
Covington, once a week.
Once a week.
Went to the store, grocery store, did the groceries. Of course, at that time, your mother made everything.
You didn't go out to eat much back then?
No. You ate at home.
So you go to the grocery store once a week to Marvin's Market we're talking about.
Yeah.
And you get
it was Zimmer and Beatty's.
That
was across the street. street.
Okay, that was also
Yeah,
a
there
grocery
was
store?
two. There
Oh.
was actually 3 stores in Covington.
Yep. So across the street from Marvin's Market, what type of store was that? A grocery
It was
store?
a grocery store and a everything store. They had everything.
Yes.
It was like a hardware, grocery.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So once a week you would go there, and how would you get there?
In my dad's car.
Do you remember what he drove? Something old, I'm
It was
guessing.
an old car. I remember it was brown.
Mm-hmm.
And when we'd go up East Hill going home,
Yep.
this is funny, my aunts borrowed it one time, and they siphoned gas off from that one into their car.
Yeah.
And they lost the hose and it went down the gas tank.
Oh.
Of course, it disintegrated, and every time you'd go up East Hill, that stuff would churn up, and you'd have to stop. My dad would have to get out, take the carburetor out, blow
Oh.
the stuff out of it. Needless to say, they didn't borrow the car again.
Was there a gas station in Covington back then? I'm thinking there
Yep.
was.
It was right where the garage was, the car garage.
Where Treasure Chest is now.
Yep. Uh-huh.
That was
Yep.
a
Yep.
gas station
Yep.
then.
There was post office.
Yep.
Grange Hall. Grange Hall is still there. Well,
Yep.
the building that was the post office is still there too, but I don't know what's in it anymore.
Yeah, it's for sale, very inexpensive, if anybody's interested.
Okay.
I think it needs some work in that price tag range, I'm
Uh-huh.
guessing. So you went to school in Covington, and then what was your first job?
My first job, probably babysitting.
Looking after your your sister was older than you, so you probably didn't babysit there, but
Uh-huh.
babysitting neighbors?
Yep, just up the street. There was 3 little people, and my sister and I babysit them. Yeah.
And then what was your first job that gave an actual company job, a paycheck? Do you remember?
I went to beauty school in Elmira.
Yep.
Del Kadir was the name of it, and I was a hairdresser.
I did not know you were a hairdresser.
Yep,
So how many years were you a hairstylist?
quite a few.
Now, back when you were a hairstylist, there was uniforms the state required you to wear, right? Tell us about what it was like being a hairstylist back
Yeah,
then.
it was fun.
It was fun. I'm glad it was still fun.
Yeah, it was all people you knew pretty much, because it's a small community. There wasn't that many people that just walked in
Yeah.
like in a bigger place, and it was fun. You knew everybody. Everybody knew you, and you had to behave.
Yeah. Well, before the internet, there was the bars, the taverns, or you had the hairstylist. That's where you
Yep.
got all your gossip or your
That
news.
was pretty much it.
So where did you work cutting hair?
I worked
Styling.
for Carolyn Bennett. She had a beauty shop here in town.
In Wellsboro.
Up over what was used to be Kuda's store on Main Street. She had a beauty shop up there. I worked for her, and then I decided I had to go to the big city, so I moved to Binghamton and worked up there
Yeah.
for a few years. Then I came back, got married, and had a beauty shop of my own in Covington. Right back where I started
all I know
from.
is that you had an antique shop, so this is fascinating. All
Yep.
this
Yep.
before. So let me go back to the farm. So you lived in the farm. Was it electrified? Did you have electricity and running water, or how?
When I was little, we did not have electricity. We had kerosene lamps. We had
Mm-hmm.
a telephone. That was the only modern thing we had. Had a pump to
You had
pump
to go
water.
outside to pump water
Yep.
and heat it up on a wood stove.
Yep. Cook stove was wood.
Yep. Outhouse, I'm guessing then? Sort of.
Yeah. It was fun.
It was a simpler time, huh?
It sure was. The only modern thing that we had was a telephone and a radio.
Do you remember getting your first TV?
Yep.
So how old were you about, give or take?
I probably was, let me see, I must have been about 13, and we moved downtown,
In
Covington.
downtown Covington, okay, in the center.
Yeah, and that got it
Yeah,
then.
and you're able to pick up a couple channels in Covington?
We was able to get Binghamton,
Huh.
and that was it.
Yep.
You didn't like what was on, you didn't watch it.
Well, that was a whole new concept, the idea of seeing people on TV.
Yeah.
I mean, that must
Yep.
have been a strange...
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Before that, did you have favorite radio programs that you listened to?
I'm sure we did. I don't remember.
Yeah, we're going
It
back
was,
a long time
Fibber
here.
McGee, Fibber McGee and Molly and different ones like that were popular.
Yep. Well, we're going to be right back with part 2. You're listening to Saturday with Seniors. Marge Weatherbee just turned 85 years old. We're talking about her life here in Tioga County in the early days. Brought to you by FCCB, the local branches, which you'll find in Wellsboro, Mansfield, and Blossburg, serving our community for over 150 years. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. We're back. It is part 2 of Saturday with Seniors. Marge Weatherbee joining us. She just turned 85 years old on Tuesday. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Get some cake and lots of candles.
Not yet.
You'll be celebrating soon with that.
It would burn the cake down.
Yeah. You need the air conditioner to fight the heat
Yeah.
off of the candles. But you've enjoyed your life, I'm guessing.
Yes. Yes.
So 85 years, born in Covington. You've lived in Wellsboro. You've lived in Binghamton some. And tell me about how you met your husband. Let's go back to that.
To my sister.
Yeah.
Her boyfriend was a friend of his, and that was how I met Gordon.
It must have been a little tricky meeting people when you lived out in a farm before the days of internet or even, phones for a lot of people, right? I mean, how did a lot of people meet their spouses
Well,
then?
you had the Grange, which most farmers belonged to the Grange.
Yeah.
So you went to that once a week on Tuesday night. And it
Tuesday was Grange night.
And just going to the grocery store, you'd see people.
Yep.
You didn't go out to eat.
Did people go out to bars much then?
Yep. Putnam Park.
Yeah.
Colonial Inn.
Did you go out occasionally or see any live bands back then? I'm kind of curious what the atmosphere was like in a Tioga County bar in the 1940s.
It was totally different than it is now. If you had to go back and you'd already lived here, you would not be happy.
Okay. Why? What was it like that would make me not happy?
You didn't have the conveniences such as you have now. You had one grocery store and they had to have everything. Hardware, the whole 9 yards. If you didn't live there, you can't even imagine.
Yeah, this is before the days of credit cards too. Nowadays, half the people don't have a penny in their wallet or on them.
No,
half the people that are out there.
Yep.
Back then, it was all cash.
Because we didn't even have a checking account.
Wow. So when you went grocery shopping, it was always everything you paid?
Everything you paid cash for.
Yep. Or on credit at some places if they knew you, I imagine?
Oh, yeah, you could have a credit account, but a lot of them didn't appreciate it because sometimes they didn't get paid.
Well, that's the way in this world, and IOU is only, if you don't got it now, how are we going to know if you're going to have it later?
It was like having a credit card that didn't work, and you used it anyway.
Yeah. That's a bad thing. So when you were growing up, chores, tell me about a typical day when you were a kid. How early did you have to get up on
I didn't have to get up early because I didn't have to go to the barn.
How'd you get out of that?
I was too little. I went.
Yep.
I loved the barn. It was my favorite place.
Is that barn still standing and the house
No,
is standing? No,
the house is gone. That got on fire, and they rebuilt
a different house there.
But the barns and we had a hay barn,
Yep.
a straw barn, a granary, corn cribs.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a whole bunch of little buildings.
So how hard of a day was it for your dad? I assume
It was a hard day.
6-7 days a week?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes 8, it seemed like, I'm sure. Yeah.
From sunrise to sunset is what I hear. I can't imagine how much tougher farming was then without some of the equipment we have now.
It was a job. I mean, you really worked hard.
And how long did your dad have the farm before you were born? Is this something that was in your family for...
It belonged to my grandmother, his mother.
Wow.
And she gave it to him when he got married. And so that would have been 1934 when they took over the farm.
But it was in your family before that, too, as well.
Yep.
So it was an old...
it was an old farm to begin with.
Yeah.
Old farmhouse, no inside plumbing.
How much traffic was around then when you were a kid on...
Not much.
I would imagine. I talked to somebody else who lived on 362. It's now 362 by the Canyon. And she said back, and she was a little older than you, but back in the 30s, there were so few cars that they stopped what they were doing to look out and see who was coming by.
Our big thing was the mailman. And my mother knew exactly what time that mailman would come. So she'd be watching.
And he would drive, what, in a mail truck to drop off the...
Just his own car.
Yeah.
And he'd reach over across and put the mail in the mailbox because it was on the other side from the steering wheel.
Yeah.
So it took my mother 2 seconds to get down there so she'd have somebody different to talk to and find out what was going on.
I remember when I used to get excited about getting mail before the days of the internet. That was your communication. It was checking the answering machine, which was... But you didn't have answering machines either when you were a kid.
Nope.
Was it a party line on your phone or obviously a rotary phone, but it was an old wooden rotary?
It was a wooden wall phone.
And a separate handpiece from the mouthpiece? Hold one up and speak into the other piece?
You took it off the hook and put it up to your ear, and if you was tall enough, you could speak into the speaker.
And spoke loud enough, too, because then it wasn't... You had to push your voice right through. You have any other memories? You didn't get to Mansfield much, or did you go to Mansfield much?
Just went to Covington once a week.
Yep.
And Mansfield when the Mansfield Fair came.
The Great Mansfield Fair?
Yes.
So tell me about the Great Mansfield Fair. What do you remember from that?
Oh, it was very exciting when you was little because they had a merry-go-round. It wasn't like a fair now. I mean, it was just a nice country fair.
It was huge, the Great Mansfield Fair. At its peak, it was 10, 20,000 people. Oh, yeah. Almost as big as the Bloomsburg Fair would be.
Because it was the whole county.
Yeah, well, the train came right in at one time. There was a separate train. People came from Elmira. they came from, yeah.
And the train track run right by the park, and that was where people got off, was right there.
But went on pretty much until the 72 flood.
Yeah.
And that gives us a whole nother area to talk about. What do you remember about the 1972 flood? From 50 years ago, Mansfield was destroyed. Covington was destroyed.
We didn't live in Covington at that time. We were in Wellsboro, so we were lucky, if you can call that lucky.
Wellsboro didn't get flooded too bad in the 72 flood?
Because right after the 72 flood, they put in the lakes. That was to protect
Wellsboro.
Well,
to protect everybody downstream from there.
And Tioga, of course, because they really got hammered.
Yes, I've seen the old pictures of Agnes, the flood, and amazing.
Yep.
So were you living here during the lamplighter fire? Let's hear about that.
Got up in the middle of the night.
That was in the, I want to say the mid-70s, early 70s? Late 70s.
Yeah.
Right on the corner next to the Dean Center. There was a big hotel there, fire that they're quite positive was set.
Beautiful hotel, had balconies on the outside from the rooms upstairs, and it was really, really nice, and what a shame.
Yeah, and you were woken up in the middle of the night? And
heard the fire whistle. Well, it was the fire trucks coming in. They come from Morse, and we live on that road.
Yes.
So we heard them going by. Everybody hopped out of bed and went to look, see what was going on. And then you could see the flames because we lived just like 2.5 blocks from down on the corner.
Yeah, and you could see that. And that was a terrible fire, probably one of the worst fires in Tioga County's history.
People died in it.
Yes, a few people did. And wow. Any other memories that you want to share?
Oh, I don't know.
I know. Where do you sort through your mind? You've got 85 years of memories.
I know. There's a lot of them. But I was a pretty good kid.
You were a good kid.
I was a pretty good kid. Sometimes I got in trouble, but...
What did you get in trouble for? Do you want to...
my sister would tell on me.
That's not what you got in trouble for, though. Or do you want to say you don't want to say?
I probably went in the creek with my shoes on or something like that.
When you were a kid, your clothes, you had to take care. Like today's kids don't really have to take care of their clothes. The parents just throw them away and buy another pair. But when you rip pants or so, that'd be fixed.
You wore a dress. You didn't wear slacks. You didn't wear jeans or anything. And your mother made your clothes, all of them.
All of them?
Yep. She was always on the sewing machine.
So you were letting her down if you were destroying her clothes.
So you was really careful because you didn't have a lot of clothes like kids do now. I mean, they've got a ton of clothes.
Yes.
We had 2 dresses. One was for every day and one was for Sunday.
Well, when you go into old houses, one thing I've noticed is that there are very few closets.
Yep.
Maybe they used wardrobes or whatever, but I got to assume that they had less stuff to store.
They didn't have that much stuff to put in the closet.
How did we go from that, fitting everything in a wardrobe, to now a society who buys storage rental spaces and expands onto their garage just so, if you have a 2-car garage, I can pretty much assure you never put 2 cars in it because we store so much stuff.
And it hasn't seen 2 cars since it was born.
Yeah. So what do you think? If you could time travel back, would you rather live in your younger years or today's world? You've lived in both. I haven't.
If you could get a mixture.
The mixture, you want both.
Want both.
The best of both worlds.
Yeah, because back then it was a totally different world.
Yeah. Polio existed. I mean, I talked with my mom and she lost some friends to polio. I mean, you think about some of these things that, were problems then. And
yeah, because my sister and I both had mild cases of polio.
Oh, wow.
I was 8 years old, just a little tyke.
Yeah, you probably know a few people that didn't make it through polio.
Didn't make it through it, or were crippled for the rest of their life.
Yep, so there's good and bad.
There is.
Well, Marge Weatherbee joining us. Appreciate you stopping by. Thank you.
That's okay, Kevin. We loved it.
All right, well, I appreciate it, and thank you for listening to Saturday with Seniors. And if you missed any of today's shows, want to hear any of our past episodes, you just go to our website, kc101fm.com. You'll see a link to Saturday with Seniors. We've got about 18 or so of these episodes on here, each one unique and very interesting, and I appreciate your story, Marge.
Thank you.
All right, we're KC101. It's all been brought to you by FCCB in Mansfield, Wellsboro, and Blossburg.